All right, welcome back to What the Fact. It's time to end the show with a bang.
Yeah.
I'm Katie and this is Aaron.
And with a bang means we're going to the state of Wisconsin. An important battleground every presidential year. It's also an important battleground in the Senate election this time around. So the candidates, again, as we mentioned, Republican Leah Vukmir are running against the incumbent Democrat Tammy Baldwin. We're going to start with a claim from Baldwin, who is the first openly gay person to serve in the U.S. Senate and a frequent supporter of LGBTQ rights. At a recent event, Baldwin was talking about something she said the Trump administration did that was bad on this issue.
This administration has banned the CDC from even using the word transgender.
As Baldwin told the crowd booed. The question is, did Trump really say that? Here's what we found out.
Wisconsin Senator Tammy Baldwin made a claim during a speech at a human rights campaign event that needs a fact check.
Right here in Atlanta, this administration has banned the CDC from even using the word transgender.
That's not true. You may remember reports from earlier this year about the Department of Health and Human Services discouraging employees there from using words like science-based and transgender. That included people working at the CDC, which is part of HHS. It turns out those reports might have left the wrong impression. Subsequent reporting revealed the discouragement was intended to help people get funding for projects. Officials reportedly worried certain terms would cause Republicans in Congress to jump to conclusions. One official told CNN employees were encouraged to use a substitute when one was available. If not, they were told to use the word. So Baldwin's claim is a misrepresentation of some misleading reporting. In short, the CDC didn't ban employees from using the word transgender.
All right, Katie, so this claim gets our false rating, which means it's inaccurate. The claim originally came up in the Washington Post, but it wasn't quite right.
Yeah, that's what the Baldwin campaign told PolitiFact Wisconsin they were basing her claim off of. But this is a case where the headline didn't quite match the context of the story. And also, the reporting was actually a bit more nuanced in the follow-ups done by some national reporting brands like the New York Times and CNN. So rather, there wasn't a flat-out ban on using those words at the CDC.
Right.
The headline said, words banned at multiple HHS agencies, which would include the CDC, include diversity and vulnerable. Really, there appears that there was some suggestion that the words be used only in some cases, in part to temper controversy during the budget process. So basically, the officials were saying that if you are tempted to use this word, try to think of another one. But ultimately, if you can't think of another one, use that.
All right, so we should note that Baldwin did better talking about Trump's attitude towards America's transgender population. Her statement at the same event:
President Trump continues to disrespect patriotic transgender Americans who want to serve their country.
And we rated that mostly true because Trump has proposed not allowing transgender Americans to serve in the military. So moving on. Now it's over to Leah Vukmir.
Who's she?
She's the Republican candidate for Senate in Wisconsin. She is, what is she, a former state senator, right?
Yes.
Yeah, she won her primary battle over U.S. Marine veteran and businessman Kevin Nicholson. And during a July debate during the primary, Vukmir stressed that Wisconsin Republicans have, quote, moved the conservative ball down the field. We're not establishment Republicans in Wisconsin. We are activist Republicans. Vukmir then pitched herself as, a, quote, a strong leader with a track record who's not going to buckle, and cited the 2011 battle over Act 10, which was, for the historians in the crowd will remember, was the great budget shutdown in Wisconsin that led to Democrats fleeing the state, lots of protesters in the Capitol, a crazy period in Wisconsin. And then Vukmir herself said,
I've been through the gauntlet here in Wisconsin when we had riots in that Capitol.
Katie, that did not rate very high on our truth meter.
Actually, it rated as low as you can go, pants on fire for a ridiculous claim. As you'll find out, Aaron, this isn't actually the first time PolitiFact Wisconsin has debunked the fact or the claim that there were riots in Wisconsin during this time. As you said, you have to go back to 2011 to remember what she's talking about. This is probably a lot closer in the minds of Wisconsin residents than it is from the national media, but this is the point that she made. Back then, there were protests going on against a push by Republican Governor Scott Walker, as well as Republican leaders, to dramatically cut back on collective bargaining rights for most public employees. This set off a huge, huge wave of protests at the Capitol. Their move would have allowed the state and other parts of government to require a higher share of the pension and health care costs be paid by workers instead of the state. Walker and the GDP said this was needed to close the budget gap. But many residents did not agree. They turned out in droves to protest in what became around-the-clock occupation of the Wisconsin State Capitol. People were camping out in the rotunda. Our partners noted that this was the largest demonstration at the Capitol since the Vietnam War. We noted in the story that pizza shops were delivering hundreds of free pizza to the Capitol, with the cost being picked up from people all around the country, as well as other countries, Bosnia, China, Egypt, France, and 20 others. So there was a big to-do and a lot of international support for people who felt, you know, their cause. But
calling them riots is obviously an overstatement, right?
Right. It would be kind of hard to get pizza deliveries in at a riot, right?
So we'll be watching that race. It's on a kind of our hot board of interesting Senate races. We'll see how that one shapes up between now and November, along with all the other Senate races we're watching. So until next week, we hope you enjoyed getting some facts and not some partisan spin of one shape or another. So I'm Aaron. This is Katie. You're watching What the Fact, and we'll see you soon.